Welcome to Athlon U Week 1 edition of the college football season 2025. I am Braden Gall. You can follow me on the internet, wherever, all different corners of the internet at Braden Gall.
I'm Stephen Lassen, and I'm very excited college football is back. You can read my work at athlonsports.com. Follow me everywhere on the internet at AthlonSteven on Twitter and everywhere you desire to waste your time or perhaps keep up with the college football season.
Let's go, baby. Huge week 1 of action. We will take you through chronological order all of the big games from Thursday through Friday through Saturday through Sunday and through Monday. 5 straight nights of a college football extravaganza. Going to be a ton of fun, so we'll take you through all the different things that are taking place this weekend. We will start each and every episode this season with our favorite thing from the week before, and I have one big thing I got to get to in what was a fantastic fourth quarter between Kansas State and Iowa State. And I tried so hard, Lasso, to stay awake to watch the end of the Hawaii game. I really did. I was there. I was trying, and I woke up. It was like 11:45, and it was sunny on the field.
Yeah, you need some coffee, my friend.
No,
but you have fallen off from the days of Pac-12 After Dark. You and I would, we would, exchange texts, and you'd be fired up about this. What has happened to you?
like that was back in the day when we were young and single, and I'm texting you at 1 a.m. You up? And It was just to find out if you were watching the Arizona State game. That's all.
Of course, I'm always. I do not go to bed on Saturdays.
Yeah, I know.
Until I have watched Hawaii close out its game, regardless of the opponent, FCS, Mountain West, whoever it is. That last game, I have to have closure. Then I can go to sleep for a couple hours and be ready to break everything down that happened on Saturday, on Sunday.
You are a sick and twisted individual. We also have some news and notes we'll get to as the SEC has added 9 conference games. Hello, welcome, way to go, good job, SEC. Some quarterbacks were named as starters. Nothing surprising there, just names we expected. And an unfortunate DUI already, just days before the season gets started for one particular team on a Sunday afternoon, by the way, which I appreciate. The schedule, I am going to ask you about the schedule because I feel like Saturday is kind of a weird day of the first day of college football. So we'll get to that all coming up. If you are watching on YouTube, please thumbs up, turn on those notifications, like the product, share the product, tell somebody about the product. In fact, just walk up to a random stranger and just say, hey, I got this really good college football guy you need to listen to, and his name's Stephen Lassen. There's this other guy that hangs out with him. He's kind of annoying, but Stephen Lassen, that's my guy. You got to check him out on YouTube, Athlon Sports, Athlon U, College Football Podcast.
You ever been to a store and they had like an open computer and you could always like type in something and...
What, in like the 90s? Yeah.
Well, like Best Buy, I think used to have them. So I'd always like go to Best Buy and like leave my like author profile like on Athlon Sports.
Oh, would you?
Yeah. Yeah.
What a I think I admire you for that, but also it's a little weird,
Well, this off season, I was having lunch with my wife and somebody noticed my Pittsburgh Steelers cup and he was talking Steelers with me. And found out that he was a big college fan, and we were just talking, and he made the comment that I know a lot about college football. I was like, "Yeah, I do."
I have one follow up here. Do you bring your own cup to lunch with your wife?
Well, it's like it's like one of those mugs you carry. Like we have
like a coffee mug. I got you.
Yeah, we have the stroller with the 1-year-old. So I always keep like water with me while we're out. So I had there, and
did it have a lid?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I was gonna say, like a human, my wife drinks coffee out of like a real mug in her car, which I think is sort of a sign of like serial killer tendencies or something. Like if your coffee mug doesn't fit in the cup holder and doesn't have a lid, I feel like you're just doing the driving thing wrong. But anyway, I just picture you walking into like a fern bar with like a cup with no lid that's just like Pittsburgh Steelers, and you just sit down and the server's like, can I get you something to drink? You're like, no, I'm good.
Yeah, no, we got to have the lid on it,
right.
For
it looks very strange.
Yeah. So yeah, I did not divulge my identity. Like it's one thing, we're out in public, so I'm just talking ball with somebody. I didn't want to go that far.
Well, people leave you alone out in Dixon County. They know that Celebrities in the house. All right, quickly, what is your favorite thing from last weekend in week 0, 0.5, 0.5, over under, whatever you want to call it? What was your favorite thing?
My favorite thing is Hawaii. So we talked all off season about how this was Timmy Chang's best team at Hawaii. Micah Alahado, breakout quarterback. You heard it here in the Athlon U podcast. And what did he do? Thought his season was going to be over. He got kind of like the awkward hip drop tackle, limping around, one leg, leads Hawaii to the comeback victory. And the kicker, Matsuzawa, taught himself to kick off of YouTube and buried the game winner to beat Stanford. It's Hawaii's first win over a power conference opponent since 2019. Congrats to Hawaii and Timmy Chang on a big victory to start the season.
Yeah, teaching yourself how to do something that then you can get a scholarship to a college football team for off YouTube, fantastic. Thumbs up, notifications turned on, everybody. My favorite thing is two coaches in Dublin, Ireland going for it on fourth down. And first it's Chris Kleiman. First of all, what a great fourth quarter! Just a fantastic fourth quarter. Rocco Becht was awesome. Like, he was huge throws. The touch pass to the tight end down the seam, the touch pass on the play action on 3rd and 1. Like, it was just a great sloppy first half, great fourth quarter, maybe end of the third quarter. And what I thought was interesting is Kansas State. I can't remember what yard line they are. I want to say like their own 40, maybe. About 10 minutes to go, they go for it on 4th and 2, and they don't get it. I still think it's the right call. I think you go for it there. I think they were down by 3 at the time. Iowa State then goes and scores a touchdown, and then immediately, of course, Kansas State comes back and scores. And I'm not going to rehash the whole game, but Iowa State goes all the way down the field, and with 4th and 3, with about 2.5 minutes to go, you either get this and you end the game. Kansas State has no timeouts, or you don't get it and Kansas State has a chance to win the game. And going for it on 4th down, Kansas State doesn't get it. It doesn't actually hurt them because they have opportunities on 2 other drives after that on defense to stop Iowa State. They don't. But I think it's the right call to go for it like that. When you got a dynamic quarterback who can run, I know he didn't get the first down. I just like the calls. Like, go for it, guys. Like, what? like you got veteran quarterbacks. I just loved watching those coaches make those calls in those situations. Fantastic game. I'm sure Avery Johnson wishes his family was a little bit more composed, but I thought it was a great football game.
Yeah, the frustrating part for me about that game was the elements and the turf, and the fact, like, it's great that we started the season with K-State, Iowa State, and, like, I'm disappointed the Big 12 doesn't have it on the schedule going forward. It should be pretty much an annual rivalry. But I was, like, a little bit frustrated because it's like, okay, the turf was an issue, the weather was an issue. Like, Farmageddon in November the weather could be an issue. But, the drop passes, like, all the things that you saw, and, like, and of course, Dylan Edwards getting hurt, like, in the first, 5 minutes of the game,
Yep.
for Kansas State. But to your point, I mean, Rocco Becht, that 4th down, completion, some of the other ones just clutch. I left that game, and I'd be curious to know what you think. I saw a lot of panic from Kansas State fans, and I'm like, I mean, really? They just lost a close game to maybe one of the Big 12 front runners overseas. Avery Johnson, I thought, threw the ball pretty well. He had a couple big plays, and then there was
lot of drop passes.
Yeah, so
Kansas State. Yeah.
if you're counting on Avery Johnson being better, it seems like he's trending that way, and you lost a close game on the margins, like turnovers, 4th down conversions, 3rd downs may have won the game for Iowa State. I don't think I'm panicking if I'm Kansas State at all.
Iowa State just looks like they handle themselves like a professional football team in like all the best possible ways. Like, they know the moment. They know what they're supposed to do. They may not execute it and they may not win the game, but like they know what to do in most every situation. And that's just a great coaching staff and a great coaching job. Not to say that Kansas State's not also good, but they just look totally composed. They look like a quarterback who has the longest active streak of games with a touchdown pass in Rocco Becht. So I just of course we should not have overlooked our Cyclones in week 1. So
yeah, I mean, coming off the best season in school history, returning a guy who could be all Big 12 certainly, and Big Citrus anchoring the defensive line, which I know, like, it was good to see him make some plays because I feel like he's been one of the most underrated players in the country. Like, he's like a guy who just eats up a lot of space. He's out there making tackles, and now everybody knows Big Citrus.
Yep.
So it was good to see, like, Dominic Orange get some shine, like Rocco Becht, like guys we had talked about in the offseason. They all made some plays in what was a sloppy, but then a very entertaining 4-quarter game over there in Ireland.
Yep. Kansas got to win as well. So we're going to work through most of schedule of week 1 because we're looking forward. We're going to try to do a lot more. What does it mean on the show each week, and sort of look ahead to the next week of action through the lens of what just happened in the previous week of action. So we want to try to give you guys sort of like an analysis of what we saw and what we think was important each week on the show. Coming up from the news standpoint, DJ Lagway going to start. No big deal there. Bryce Underwood named the starter, of course, for Michigan. No big deal there. They will play New Mexico at 6:30 on Saturday. And there's just going to be a ton of debuts this Saturday. So it's almost hard to like put them all into one bucket and be like, hey, there's so many games that are going to be blowouts, but like I want to see what Gunnar Stockton looks like. I want to see what Bryce Underwood looks like. I want to see what John Mateer looks like for Oklahoma. Not sure those games will be interesting in any way, shape, or form other than that. So, all right. Last quick other piece of news is Caleb Woodson, linebacker for Virginia Tech, a captain, DUI over the weekend. His punishment was internal, as is always the case. And the decision on whether or not he's going to play on Sunday against Shane Beamer in the Beamer Bowl in South Carolina, we shall see. Virginia Tech, by the way, Virginia Tech only an 8-point underdog in this game. That is sneaky to me. It smells like something. I don't know what it smells like, but it smells like something.
What does Vegas know that probably the average public, because if you would have asked me back in, I don't know, like May, I would have guessed maybe South Carolina is favored by maybe like 10 maybe
or more.
Yeah. So Vegas knows something. I think I might know what they're up to, but we can get to that game later.
Okay. I got another one of those too on Friday night that I'm like, what? I looked at the point spread and I was like, oh, immediate. And then I stopped and I go, wait a second. What do you know, people that build pyramids out of solid gold? All right, 9-game schedule for the SEC, and a lot more value placed on strength of schedule by the committee. The SEC thing's not going to obviously take effect until next year. And look, this is if you're a college football fan, you want more good games. This is good. If you're a TV executive and you want to sell more good games to your advertising partners, this is good. If you're a season ticket holder and you want more good games, this is good. Like by and large, it's all good. I don't think this is like the big win that the Big Ten thinks it is. The way all the coaches were lined up at media days with their talking points saying, oh, it's not fair. It's apples to oranges. It's apples to oranges. I can't believe that they only play 8 games. Their schedules are harder by and large most of the time. Not all the time. Tennessee last year is easier. I think Auburn this year is going to be easier. Missouri is going to be easier last year and this year. Indiana's schedule last year was a joke. Illinois' schedule this year is very easy. We can go round and round and round. It's not about balance or equity. It's about more good things to make money off of. That's why the SEC is doing this. And the Big Ten wants them to. So a little bit of negotiation, kind of give and take there. And the 6-3 rivalries are protected. The 3 games that you keep every year, you can rotate now 6. You can play everybody in a 16 teams conference. You can play everybody twice within, I think, 7 years, I think is the number. So that's it makes too much sense, and it's good. It should be good for everybody, except for the coaches at like Kentucky, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, and Arkansas, hypothetically.
That's really the biggest loser is the middle tier of the SEC, where it's going to get harder to go to bowl games at like Arkansas, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, Kentucky. On the positive side, though, for us as college football fans, more SEC on more SEC is good. Protecting those rivalries, because if you think about a normal 8-game schedule, they could have engineered the schedule to maintain these, but so they're protected. So that way Texas A&M is played every year. Alabama, Tennessee, hypothetically, like protecting rivalries. There's extra revenue involved for the SEC. So that's always a positive, especially in this environment.
That's what this is about.
Right. With the revenue sharing, all those things are good. More good games, protecting rivalries. There's no downside unless you are one of those middle tier teams in the SEC. But just in the big picture, though, we saw the change to the metrics. Like it's going to be incentivized to, if you're playing a harder schedule, the losses aren't necessarily against good opponents, aren't necessarily going to hurt you as much. If you lose to a bad team, it may hurt you. So 9 games in the SEC with a weight towards stronger strength of schedule, I think was a big win for Greg Sankey and the SEC. It's what they wanted. They got the metric changed. Now they have 9 games. They get more revenue. They're getting what they wanted so far.
And I got to be really careful to not just like remember one Twitter argument I had in like 2014. But
Wow, that's deep.
I just know I'm just making numbers up here, but I just remember you and I doing this show and being like, if you lose close, especially like this is about LSU, this is about Texas, this is about Notre Dame this week. In theory, those three. If you go on the road to an elite team who is in the top 4 at the time, right, or in a conference championship game, and you battle somebody to basically a draw or a tie at the end of 60 minutes, you may lose on one play. I remember the Louisville-Clemson football game. Regular season, Lamar Jackson,
Yeah.
doesn't he like dive out of the end zone like 2 yards shy and like Clemson wins? Like you can't tell me that on the road you almost beat a team and you lose by a play. That somehow college football fan was always like, well, you had your chance. You had your chance. You lost that. You're done. You're not qualified anymore. And it's like, well, but if you actually play the best team in America, and I think Clemson might be the best team in America, on the road in their building, and you play a hard, close-fought game, you shouldn't be penalized for that. You should be told. Everyone should look at you and say, "Oh, you're pretty darn close. You're not number 1, but you might be 3 or 4 or 5. I don't know, based on other things that you do throughout the course of the season." So I am grateful that the committee is going to look at close losses to great teams and be like, it's really not that bad. Like, it's not a bad thing. And this is the old Washington-Penn State argument from 2016, right? Like, Washington played nobody in the non-conference, got into the playoff. Penn State, it wasn't an elite team that they had lost to. They lost to Pittsburgh, I think, that year. But an arch rival in a great game, you lose, and you get knocked out of the playoff. I just think playing an elite team and losing should almost not count as a win, but like it needs to be viewed in a really contextualized way.
I can assure you, if Clemson LSU is close on Saturday, I'm not moving the loser down too far in my rankings, if at all. If anything, it almost solidifies, what we feel about both teams. And of course, that could change. Like we get more data in weeks 4 and 5, and maybe that doesn't hold true. But it is interesting. We have seen this offseason debate about strength of schedule, 9 games. Like, what's the future of the playoff? And you go back to Big Ten media days. There's this USC can't schedule Notre Dame. They got to have these automatic bids. The easiest thing is to do exactly what the committee's doing and just say, let's incentivize hard schedules or difficult schedules. Also, the non-conference games. We could incentivize teams to schedule these games and not be penalized. So I think what we're getting at here is let's not penalize teams for taking the chance. Like, let's be comfortable with the idea that 3 losses might be better than a 2-loss team. 2 losses can be better than 1. Like, the numbers at the end and your whole resume have to matter, not just getting to the end with a 0 or a 1. Like, let's look at the whole picture and strength of schedule.
And honestly, like, I don't know why that wasn't already happening anyway.
I know. Yeah.
Like, and oh, by the way, part of this is the SEC is going to play a guaranteed Power 4 opponent as well. They're going to play 10 Power 4 teams. And so I don't like, cool, great, way to go, awesome, all right. I just don't understand why we weren't looking at Indiana's schedule and like I don't know who had the toughest schedule last year of anybody, like Oklahoma. I don't know, like I don't know why we weren't already doing that. Like if the committee's not looking at Indiana's schedule differently than it looked at XYZ team that had an extraordinary difficult schedule, and it doesn't mean you don't still put Indiana in. I'm not saying you change your opinion. But you should have already be taking all this stuff into account. And if you weren't, we're not looking at the whole picture accurately, at least. Anyway, all right. So it's all positive changes, right?
According to ESPN's Football Power Index, Georgia had the toughest schedule last year. But yes, those are all positive changes, I think, going forward. Better games in the SEC, more games, and changes to evaluate strength of schedule. Seems like a win to me.
Like I think my 8-year-old, if I told my 8-year-old that 2 6-6 teams, well, this 6-6 team lost to 6 ranked teams, and this 6-6 team didn't play any ranked teams, she's going to be like, that one's better.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't take any more effort than that. Anyway. All right. You want to go through the schedule here? Because it's football season, baby. It's football season.
Let's do it. Saturday was an appetizer. I'm ready for the buffet this weekend, though.
Well, I've got a couple more amuse-bouches this weekend. So,
yeah.
Is this on paper? Is this the best opening weekend you can remember? I know we say that probably every year, but this one feels different.
3 top 10 matchups. Yeah,
that's pretty.
I think
big.
so. Yeah.
And I don't think we have any like Oregon, Georgia 49-0 games. You know?
Yes, that is a good point because I'm hesitant to say this because it may not age well, but it does feel like the bust factor on some of these games is pretty low. The
I
top
think
10
there
matchups, at least.
yeah. I think there could be like, could Bama beat Florida State 49-0? Probably.
Possibly.
I'm not
Yes.
picking it
Yeah.
necessarily. Maybe I am. Stay tuned to our picks against the spread. But I think I think of all the 10, 11, 12 top 15 games or so, I'm sure a couple of them are going to be blowouts, but who knows? It doesn't look like that's going to happen. All right, Thursday night, first of all, big round of applause to the schedule makers here for a 4:30 kickoff. Boise State at South Florida, 5.5-point favorite at time of taping. This is a monumental game for Group of Five playoff status here. Boise State goes on the road and wins this game. A lot of questions are answered about some of the new pieces. South Florida, however, thinks very highly of itself and thinks it could contend in the AAC. So what do you make of this one?
So I think if we think about this game and also think about what we saw last week from UNLV's defense, which was pretty bad. It's never great when you see a receiver on your screen catching a touchdown and there's not a defender in the area. I bring that up because if UNLV is the second team in the Mountain West, then the gap probably between UNLV and Boise is even wider than we anticipated, at least on what we saw. So thinking about that in the context of this game, looking ahead, South Florida's got Florida. They've got Miami coming up in non-conference play. They get Boise State at home. First game of the season. Like if you're going to try and pull off an upset, this is a pretty good scenario. Byron Brown coming back to 100% is a big deal. Also, like it's a chance for Boise to kind of go and solidify. Like if they go on the road and make a statement here, they lost Ashton Genty to the NFL. I think their running backs are still going to be good. You throw in Maddox Madsen. If they go on the road and cover, I mean, 5.5, like you said, maybe they win by 7-8 points, even more convincing win. It just even more solidifies like where Boise is in the hierarchy of G5 teams at the top and maybe even higher than we think. But if South Florida wins, all of a sudden they're a contender for the playoff, and they jump right into that conversation with Tulane and Navy to be the team to beat the American.
You got ECU and NC State on Thursday night, which is not a. I think it's like a 2-touchdown point spread roughly. Ohio at Rutgers, 15.5-point spread there. Ohio's supposed to be really good in the MAC, so keep an eye on those two. You also have Missouri, Minnesota, Duke, Oklahoma State, Houston, and Wisconsin all in action as well from a power conference standpoint among 10 teams on the power conferences in action on Thursday. Nebraska at Cincinnati. Dylan Raiola, year number 2 as a starter. This is a big one here on the road. Scott Satterfield, unsure of his future at Cincinnati. Brandon Sorsby, the starting quarterback there. Could be a nice little matchup at quarterback. This point spread is getting larger, and I like that because I'm on Nebraska.
We are on the same page here. By the way, it's at Arrowhead. Don't forget that. So
that's right. I forgot about that.
It's kind of like with the Travis Kelce special there in
Oh,
Arrowhead.
congratulations to Travis Kelce.
Right. Been a big week.
Getting married to Nashville native Taylor Swift. I don't know if you guys have heard of her. She's a musician, I think.
I think I saw a headline that said something like podcaster marries like music host.
So, that's good. I like that.
That was good. Thinking about the game, I think this is a kind of one of those games like we call like data collection early in the season and trying to learn a lot here. Like I think Nebraska is going to take a step forward. Well, I want to see what Dylan Raiola and Dana Holgerson have cooked up. Like they've had all off season to get on the same page. Cincinnati's got some turnover in the secondary. But for Cincinnati, you mentioned Scott Satterfield. Make or break year. They have a third losing season. He's probably gone. I like Brendan Sorsby, the quarterback for Cincinnati. I think Nebraska's defense is still a bit of a question here. So I think Cincinnati can have some success moving the ball. But I think we're going to learn a lot. Like either Cincinnati surprises or Nebraska makes that statement in week 1. And Dylan Raiola looks like he is ready for that step forward.
Yeah, we shall see. That's a big one on Thursday. I love the 4:30 Boise appetizer with like the happy hour with like the Nebraska primetime 8:00 kickoff at Cincinnati. Good stuff there on a Thursday. On Friday, you have 8 more Power 4 teams in action. Illinois, of course, one of the highest ranked in action. Illinois, Kansas, Michigan State, Wake Forest, all in action. The big 2 games, though, however, will start. I think this is a top 5 game this weekend. I think it is critically important for both teams. It's very important for one of the head coaches I have no idea how many quarterbacks or coordinators are going to play in this game. Auburn is a 2.5-point favorite at Baylor. Unsure of, like, I've been looking at these, and this is also a topic I wanted to mention with you. Like, these injury reports are fascinating to me. Like, Auburn has like all its best players on an injury report, and I don't know like what's going on with like each conference kind of has a slightly different set of rules. Like, the ACC is doing it, the Big 12 has to do it, I think, every day if they want. The SEC's, I think, 3 days prior, and the Big 10 was 2 hours before the games. They have to report their injuries. Is that all the same this year? Are all the injury rules the same in terms of how they report? Because you can go look at injury reports now, mostly on gambling sites, and you can see like, Jaden Roberts or whatever at Alabama, the offensive lineman's really good. He's questionable or whatever.
It is my understanding they are not all necessarily going to be like equal across, like the format, and as far as the release times, they will not be the same. Also, they are different for non-conference games. Conference games are one thing where they absolutely have to. I don't know that's necessarily the case for the non-conference ones, but either way, I think to me it's like just common sense, like a step forward for college football to have an injury report. So even if it's vague and it's like we're getting like some limited information, it's better than none.
Well, I agree. There's some HIPAA stuff there about kids having to opt into it or whatever you need to worry about. But at the end of the day, there's too much money on the line for the universities to sort of not get all their kids to opt in on this stuff. But again, like, all everything center, all everything receiver, and all everything receiver for Auburn all like banged up right now, and we're not sure how healthy they are. I assume they're all going to play. Auburn has some pieces in this matchup at wide receiver and Singleton and Coleman, as well as the offensive line, that should be able to attack Baylor. And so all this does depend on who's calling plays and who's playing quarterback, which we just apparently don't know at Auburn. We know a lot more about Baylor. Hostile environment, but not 100,000 people, like a really cool stadium, but not a huge one. I don't know what to make of this game.
I think the easiest way to look at this game is strength versus strength, and maybe question mark versus question mark. Because Auburn's defense should be one of the better groups in the SEC. Going up against a Baylor offense and Sawyer Robertson that caught fire in the second half of last season. They won 6 out of the last 7. Sawyer Robertson was a big part of that. I think he's one of the best 15 quarterbacks in the country. Veteran offensive line, like we go down the list, good running backs, good receivers. So you've got strength versus strength. The other side of the ball is like the two questions, because Baylor needs to get better on defense. And also we have kind of a big question of how Jackson Arnold and Hugh Freeze and this offense fits together. If Arnold is good, they're going to put some points up because they've got Singleton and Cam Coleman. They're going to be
Baylor can't guard them in space.
Exactly. So that is the matchup. Like, I want to see Jackson Arnold after everything that happened last year, better situation on the road against Baylor. We're going to find out a lot about Auburn in the first game, but I think like that's the way I'm kind of looking at this, is like you got the two strengths and the two groups of questions meeting up, and what's going to be a pretty entertaining game.
Like there's a difference between a small point spread for like Clemson and LSU, or Texas and Ohio State, and even to some degree Notre Dame and Miami, all very small point spreads. All 6 teams, though, I think are all pretty good. Like, we know that LSU and Clemson are really good. We know that Texas and Ohio State are going to be really good. I think Notre Dame is great, and I don't know how good Miami is, but we'll see. This feels more like TCU and North Carolina. Like, there's low point spreads where you have no clue what these teams are going to be. And this is the same thing here. Auburn and Baylor, I think I have been high on both of them all summer long. And I think Auburn could be very good, capitalize on talent improvement and an easier, quote-unquote, easier schedule in the SEC. And Baylor, I think, could be very good in the Big 12 with a good quarterback and rejuvenated defense and everything. Like, I don't have any clue, though, if these are 10-win teams that are competing for top 15 status, or are they 7-5, 8-4? And we don't know, and we might not even know after this game.
We might not, because it's possible that Baylor loses this game and still wins the Big 12 and is, to your point, like the 12th best team in the country. Auburn is just one of the hardest teams in the country to figure out, period. Like, coming into the season, if you could show me a stat line on Jackson Arnold, I would have a better idea to kind of predict what Auburn's going to be and what that means for the SEC. I do think to use a term we used earlier, I feel like the bus factor on Baylor is probably pretty low. Like they seem to be kind of settled in that 8, maybe 10
I think that's
win
fair.
range.
I think that's
Like
fair.
Auburn feels way more volatile this year.
So that game is probably the most important game on Friday night, but the one I will be most tuned into probably my Yellow Jackets at Colorado. Caden Salter era beginning for the Buffaloes. Haynes King, Georgia Tech, the Ramblin' Wreck, my boys. Vegas is got me terrified on this one. I'm totally puckered up now because I would have said Georgia Tech. Now, again, I'm higher on Georgia Tech than everybody else. I get it. But I would have said a 7 or 8 point spread, maybe even more. And this is a 4.5 point spread at time of taping. What on earth? Is this just 3 time zones, mountain time zone, a lot of energy around Colorado in week 1? Like what is lots of time to prepare for Georgia Tech? Georgia Tech has put a lot on film, so everybody kind of knows what they are, which is actually kind of maybe a disadvantage for some teams going into week 1, which is kind of a weird way to think about continuity. What is Vegas telling us here? Because I really like Georgia Tech lay the points. There's no reason for this game to be close, in my opinion.
Are we going to settle the 1990 national championship now? With Georgia Tech and Colorado squaring off. Let's bring the trophy out there.
Well, one of those teams needed a 5th down. So
True. So shifting gears to the 2025 matchup here. I'm with you.
Like what's
tipping
happening?
our hand a little bit here. I'm going to guess it's, first of all, the first game of the year on the road. Also, I think Colorado's got a lot of interesting and very talented pieces. Caden Salter looks like he won the starting job. It does look like Julian Lewis, the true freshman, will play some. Colorado's got a lot of offensive firepower. I don't know how it all fits together because I don't think Salter is as good of a passer as Shedeur Sanders was. Defensively, also, Colorado quietly, I think, was 3rd in the Big 12 last year in scoring defense. They made a lot of progress under Robert Livingston. I think this is why, and I'll tell you kind of why I like Georgia Tech maybe against the spread here. Haynes King was hurt all of last year. Like he played pretty much most of the season, or half of the season, with a torn labrum. And he was still out there nearly leading a victory for Georgia Tech against Georgia. He's healthy. They've got the offensive line that's probably going to be able to push around, find some running room against Colorado's defensive front. So I don't think this is going to be easy. Boulder's a tough place to play. Colorado's still got some offensive firepower. But this one feels like if Georgia Tech is the sleeper we think it is, they should be able to go win by more than 4 points.
I know, but what's going on here? I don't know. All right, that's your Friday night. Should be a lot of fun. And again, you also got Aiden Childs in year number 2 with Jonathan Smith in Michigan State. Jalen Daniels in Kansas could be the first team in America to go to 2-0 because they will play before UNLV that night, so they can go to 2-0. Obviously, Luke Altmaier, Illinois, getting off. They're a 45-point favorite over, I think, Western Illinois, so not a lot to see there. Wake Forest as well. That brings us to Saturday. My first observation is I love that the 3 big games are spread out. 11 a.m. for Texas Ohio State, 6:30 for LSU-Clemson, and I guess you got Bama at 2:30. But there's really not a lot else on the schedule from a big-time matchup standpoint on Saturday. So a lot of this schedule is spread out over the 5 days, which is smart, which is good. Obviously, we get started Texas and Ohio State. Here's my thought on this. I think Texas is going to win. I don't think it's going to be because of Arch.
Agree.
And I think the narrative coming out of the game is going to be exclusively about Arch because his last name's Manning. I think we're going to learn a lot of good things about Ohio State in a loss. Like, it's just going to be we're going to come out of this game and there's going to be all kinds of like overreacting to the narratives and the storylines. Is Ohio State done? Is Arch Manning going to win 4 Heismans? Like, all this is going to happen. And really, it's just going to be these are 2 of the best teams in America figuring some stuff out in week 1 in a hostile environment, and they're going to play a great game. I think Texas is a little bit more prepared to win right now, and that's it. Like, I don't think it's more complicated than that. Here's my other prediction. Caleb Downs scores 2 touchdowns, 1 on offense, 1 on special teams.
Oh, that's okay. I like that idea because then for our Heisman wager, that sounds like a good thing to get him to New York at the end of the year, right?
I am running the full-blown Charles Woodson playbook if I'm Ryan Day.
I mean,
if I'm first and goal on the 8-yard line, I want Caleb Downs sneaking in there as like a 3rd tight end in like a little offset, like slot situation. Just hide him back there behind some offensive linemen,
I mean, I like your thinking because first of all, if I'm looking at like Ohio State in a power rating sense, I'm downgrading them from the coordinators. Like I think Brian Hartline's probably going to be fine because Ryan Day's still there. I don't love Matt Patricia as defensive coordinator. They might be fine because they have a lot of talent, but I don't think it's a great hire for Ohio State.
What about a shift and offset tight end Caleb Downs shifts into the backfield into quarterback? Julian Sains shifts out wide. And then you got Jeremiah Smith shifting into the backfield, and you run a triple option with Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith. Unstoppable.
I like that. See, they need to see red zone touchdowns in a close game could mean a lot. I think if you kind of summed up what I'm thinking going to this game, and I've had this like thought in my mind all week about what can Arch Manning do to actually meet the hype? Because like he's going to throw an interception at some point. Someone's going to go, he's not a first round pick. He's overrated. He's going to have like 250 yards and 2 touchdowns in a game. And everyone's going to go, why was he the first quarterback in the draft rankings? Why was he first? The totality of the season, like the instant reactions one thing, the totality of the season is he's going to end up being just fine.
I think it's going to be less than that. I think it's like 220 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, like 45 yards rushing.
I think his rushing is going to be pretty important in this game. And I think with the new offensive line, it wouldn't surprise me if they have some mix-ups early on. But I think when I look at this game, I think we come back to like, it's not only Arch, it's Julian Sayin, it's the 2 new quarterbacks. I actually think the group that I trust the most is probably the Texas defense right now. And I think it wouldn't shock me if Sark goes to Trey Wisner and CJ Baxter and says, guys, get ready. We're going to hand the ball off to you guys probably 45 to 50 times. Ohio State's defensive line's got a bunch of new faces. They're worried about their depth on the interior. Let's test them. And so they run the ball well. Arch hooks up with Ryan Wingo on a pass in the 4th quarter that maybe puts them ahead. So it's not a huge stat line, but defense and run the ball wins it for Texas.
The 2027 wide receiver draft class in this game off the charts.
Yes.
With Wingo and Smith. You just have NFL players at almost every position for both teams. And I love the chess match of Caleb Downs and Sonny Styles sort of engineering the defense around with Arch Manning and Sarkisian on the other side going head to head from a like a football IQ standpoint is going to be super interesting. I do think a special teams play by Caleb Downs is a huge factor in all of this. I kind of agree. You know how they also, they also love to run those short passes, those screen passes, those running back dump offs. I imagine with Baxter and Wisner, you're going to do that with Arch Manning as well. You want to get the ball into their hands quickly, slow down the Ohio State rush. Certainly a lot of familiarity between these two. Here's an interesting question. I just wanted to float this to you. Do you think that, could you make the case that internally in their own head, I know this is kind of weird and nuanced, that Julian Sayin is going to have more pressure on him than Arch Manning is? Not from the outside. Like Arch Manning clearly has all the noise and the attention and the pressure outwardly, but he's been hanging out, diagramming plays with David Cutcliffe since he was like 8 years old. So it's not about the scheme on this. He's been in the system for 2 years with Steve Sarkisian. He has played football games for Texas, multiple football games for Texas. This is sort of like the end of this weird journey to get to the starting lineup for Arch Manning, whereas it feels like the beginning. And so while the outside pressure is probably much, much greater on Arch Manning, I don't think he steps into that huddle with any pressure internally. Like he is as prepared for this moment as any player could have ever been prepared for this. Whereas Julian Sayin, also super talented, tons of ability, he's stepping in with a totally new offensive line, a new backfield, never a new play caller. It all feels more new. And I think I could argue that Julian Sayin has more sort of internal pressure on himself than maybe Arch does, because Arch is just, now again, I don't know Julian Sayin. I don't know. Maybe he's a super cool, super chill dude. I don't know. But is that weird to think that maybe Julian Sayin's going to feel more pressure than Arch will in this?
You kind of wonder about with Arch, like the slow heartbeat thing that, you hear baseball managers talk about in October, who's got the slow heartbeat with 2 strikes trying to hit the RBI that might win. And I think, Brady and Peyton Manning both had that attribute. That's a good question. Which quarterback has more pressure? Is it Sayin or is it Arch? I don't know. If I'm Julian Sayin, I'm going to this game thinking everybody's thinking about Arch, but I think I'm just as good. I guess from an external standpoint, everyone just, we think he's going to be pretty good. And I think most Ohio State fans do, but everybody's focusing every pass that Arch throws, every thing that he does in the pocket is going to be like analyzed down to the finest
But he
degree.
doesn't care about any of that.
True, he doesn't.
He doesn't.
I guess I could see kind of both sides of this one, but I would also say, like,
Yeah, yeah.
if I'm saying I'm just going to this game like, okay, everybody's focused on Arch. I've got
Yeah.
Jeremiah Smith. I'm going to chuck it out there and let's go.
Are they going to do any? Is there any like pregame ceremony for like rings and banners and stuff at the stadium for the national championship? I assume. I think that's a part that could get into your head if you're the quarterback for Ohio State, right? I just think there's a weird internal element to all of this that's different than like the fans and the outward pressure and the media and the attention. There's sort of like and again, a lot of this is going to be how Julian Saint is wired, which is going to be fascinating to watch unfold. And if his heart rate slows down, then it could be a hell of a football game because it's going to be a good game either way. So I got Texas, but like really, I don't think anything about our season changes too much, which I think is a lot of the anti-expansion people's case is like, oh, this Texas Ohio State game doesn't mean as much as people want it to. And I get it. Or you could just sit back and enjoy what it's going to be, which is a great football game.
That's my plan. Let's just enjoy it. It's a top 5 showdown. Maybe they don't turn out that way by December, but I think it's hard to see much of a buzz factor Texas or Ohio State here.
The other noon game I got circled here is Tennessee against Syracuse, 13.5-point favorite. Joey Aguilar making his debut. I don't think Tennessee is all that special. I think Syracuse is taking a big step back, so I just don't know what to make of this game as like how important it's going to be. Like how good are these two teams? I know Tennessee's ranked. I don't know if they deserve to be, in my opinion, but we'll see.
I think we might learn a lot about the two quarterbacks. I mean, Angeli for Syracuse and also Aguilar both entered the portal in the spring. Tennessee was kind of rumored linked to both. And then, of course, Aguilar goes to Tennessee. I think it's fair to say both teams have a lot of new pieces. If there is one group in that game that you probably trust right now, it's probably Tennessee's defense. So just with all the new pieces, I think using the term like data collection, like I'm interested to learn a lot more about where both of these teams are after all they lost and kind of where they are in the rebuilding process.
I think I would lay the points because I think I trust the offense to sort of like no matter who plays quarterback for Tennessee to hit a certain number, 30, 35 points or whatever. Defensively, I think they're pretty good too, but I don't know how good Tennessee is. I got a couple of games circled though in the 11 o'clock window. I want to ask you about because I've got 6 upsets circled for Saturday. Mississippi State, 13-point favorite on the road at 11 a.m. early kick time against arch in-state rival Southern Miss, new coach Charles Huff. That is a glaring, I am concerned if you come out flat and you have a bad defense again, Mississippi State. Northwestern's a 5.5-point dog on the road against Tulane. That's a really important game for Tulane. Toledo plus 9.5 at Kentucky, a very good Toledo team that destroyed Mississippi State on the road last year. Kentucky is waffling and teetering right now. I got those 3 circled in that early window as major potential upsets. So I want to get your thoughts on those 3, but I want to add another 3, so everybody keep up here. South Dakota, 14-point underdog on the road against Iowa State. They're my Cyclones now, again. But let down at all, good program. You're coming back, long travel week, a lot of excitement around the win. I'm curious to keep an eye on how Iowa State responds in that game. Coastal Carolina plus 12 against Virginia. That, if I'm Virginia, I'm a little nervous about that one. And how about this one? Hawaii plus 17 at Arizona. Any of those 6 games you think are outright upsets for Power 4 teams against G5 competition?
So Iowa State's kind of had a weird thing at times where they kind of just like muddle around against opponents. I think there was something during the broadcast of how both Kleiman and Campbell were both worried because they've talked to other coaches who played in the Ireland game that said it took about a month to get acclimated back. So I could see some sleepy kind of sluggishness out of Iowa State there. I think my favorite one, though, well, let's say this, Hawaii, I would probably stay away from because I don't know that Ahata will may play. Like, I think he has a chance
right.
because he was hurt. I think Kentucky and Toledo is the one I've got circled probably the most because Toledo kind of checks off. Like, they have some losses on the defensive line, but mostly a veteran roster, experienced quarterback. They just beat Mississippi State last year. what exactly is Kentucky with all their personnel losses from last season? Zach Calzada's now the starter. Like Kentucky, there's a lot of intrigue with the transfers. There's a lot of unknown. Toledo feels very safe given all their veteran experience coming back.
Okay. I just wanted to ask you about those. 3 of those are in that early window. Always want to play the upset alert card on an early 11 a.m. kickoff for sure. And especially Mississippi State on the road at Southern Miss. That's a very important game for those folks, both sides in the state of Mississippi.
I think it's 100%, but also it's an important game for Jeff Lebby because there's still a lot of like initial optimism, good feelings. They had a hard schedule. They had to, reload the roster. Last year was year 0. You go on the road and lose to Southern Miss. That's not going to sit well. I would say if you're like a Mississippi State fan, you're looking at this and Southern Miss was 1-11 last year. They're not going to be any good.
New coach.
They got like 60, 70 new players on the roster. I think they brought in like 40 to 50 transfers, including Braylon Braxton, the Sun Belt's best quarterback. So home game, fresh start under Charles Huff, good quarterback for Southern Miss, a Mississippi State defense that was atrocious last year. Yeah, there's some ingredients there that would worry me if I'm Mississippi State.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Just on the road against the in-state rival, a bunch of kids that if they are from the in-state situation, probably wish they had offers from Mississippi State. That's the old, watch out. All right, that means we go to 2:30, and I guess this could be a close game. Alabama and Florida State. I don't think it will be, but Alabama is banged up. You got Miller in the backfield who's out for this game. I mentioned Roberts, the offensive guard, dealing with a concussion, could be out there. Looks like, again, this is according to the injury report, that Deontay Lawson is questionable with the knee as well. I just don't – I think Thomas Castellanos could make them work for it in the open field with his legs. And Gus Malzahn's going to put him in a good situation. I just don't know where Florida State wins head-to-head. I don't know what position group for Florida State is just going to routinely challenge Alabama's matchup on the other side. I think Bama, I think I've been saying this all summer, Bama big, and I don't know why Florida State has been running their mouth talking all that mess all summer. I don't get it.
Yeah, you think Bama might be motivated to make a statement here?
Right.
They've had to listen to, a 2-10 Florida State team, guys who weren't on the team, like Castellanos wasn't on the team.
Sure.
But, I know Castellanos has been trying to motivate Florida State, so I get it. But I think Alabama's had to, they've been talking about the disrespect will be handled on Saturday. And so they're well aware about what's going on. But I think to your point, I could see Florida State. I think there's kind of 2 ways this game could go. One is if I'm Florida State, I do not want to fall behind 14, 17 points. They are not built to do that. Castellanos' game is rushing. He may have to carry the ball 20 times in this game. Malzahn plus Castellanos can do some good things. Florida State will be a lot better this year. They just don't want to fall behind. I think if anything, if you're Florida State, it's one of those games where you might want to try to play the short kind of game, shorten the game. Don't let Ty Simpson and those receivers, which that's another thing is how good is Ty Simpson in this spot? Kind of condense the game down. You're an underdog. And also, Doak Campbell's got the renovation. It's a new start. The worst thing you could do if you're Florida State is to get pummeled right out of the gate and lose all that momentum. So even if you lose, keep it close on the scoreboard, and you can kind of build on that as we go forward.
Yeah, I don't know about that. This is a proud program.
A lot of ifs there, right?
I like Bama big. 6:30 LSU 3.5-point underdog on the road against Clemson. And you mentioned no matter what happens in this game, you won't be dropping either team too far. I don't know if I agree with that on the Clemson side. I think they are the better team. They have the elite defensive line. Now, I know they gave up a lot of rushing yards last year, so they've got to answer some of those questions. But they have a first-round pick at quarterback, a first-round pick, maybe 3 of them at wide receiver, first-round pick at left tackle, first-round pick at corner, first-round pick at edge, first-round pick at defensive tackle. LSU's very talented. They don't have that kind of talent. And I think Clemson's at home. This is a game Clemson, I think, should win. Now, I think it is. I think they're 2 great teams, 2 top 10 teams, 2 teams that should make the playoff, et cetera, et cetera. But if Clemson can stop the run, which is if I'm LSU, that's where I'm going. That's what I'm trying to do here, is try to make Garrett Nussmeier's job as easy as possible by attacking the thing that Clemson could not do last year, as well as you'd expect, which is 85th in the run against the run last year. I don't think I would change my opinion a lot more on Clemson if they lose versus if LSU loses, I'm kind of like I think that's where they are. I think they are a good team, but not an elite team, and they may not be as good as what I might consider to be the best team. So I don't know. What do you think of all that?
I think that's fair. I mean, obviously, how this game plays out, like if it's 27-24, I'm probably not dropping either one of them. But I do think if LSU goes into Clemson and wins, and we had this conversation like last week's show, did the playoff showing sort of cover up for some of the things that Clemson showed last year, like the last second win over Pitt? They could have easily lost to SMU. Like, are they in that top tier? Like, if LSU goes in there and wins easily, I think we're having a different conversation about Clemson on Monday next week. I think what worries me for LSU, 4 new offensive line starters against maybe the best defensive line in college football. And I know 100% agree with you. Clemson struggled against the run last year. They may have fixed it, though, by just simply moving Peter Woods back to tackle. They brought in the Purdue transfer at defensive end. So we'll see. And I think Tom Allen's way better defensive coordinator than Wes Goodwin. So they're sort of fortified some of the positions that they were a question mark last year. So if LSU runs the ball well, take some of the pressure off the offensive line, this LSU receiving core is deep, and they can threaten that Clemson secondary downfield. So it also, if you want to flip this game around the other way, it's a great test for LSU's defense. I mean, they paid Blake Baker $2.5 million to be a defensive coordinator. They were a little bit better last year. They expect to be a lot better this year with all the new pieces and the transfers they brought in. So I think that's what I'm looking for is LSU's defense better? And for LSU, the offensive line, how does it perform? And then, of course, like the star power of Klubnik and these receivers, do they continue to elevate their game after a good 2024?
Like that number you gave out is hilarious because I actually picked Clemson 27-24 over LSU. And the problem is if that happens, there's going to be so much hand wringing around Brian Kelly. So much. Like the Arch Manning, like so many narratives written about Brian. Oh, fifth straight season opening loss, and Brian Kelly's 0-4 in season openers. It's like, well, I know that they were weird against Florida State, but one of those was a really, really good Florida State team, an undefeated Florida State team. The one to USC last year, not
That's
great.
one, yeah.
Not great. But this one is not. I don't like this one. I don't even put on him necessarily. Like it's great if you go win. I just don't think this is the way to determine the success or failure of the season or Brian Kelly or this LSU team. Like I think Clemson's that good. And so if you go on the road and you play well, but you lose, I know people are going to be furious in Louisiana about the loss, but like your whole season's still in front of you. The SEC schedule is still in front of you. Playoff bid is still in front of you. And I don't think the committee's going to kill you if you lose on the road in a close fashion, like we were talking about earlier in the show. Like I think that should be viewed as, oh, you're basically almost as even as Clemson, who might be the best team in America. I don't know.
Also, to go back to something we talked about on our preseason prediction show, Clemson, if they win this game, might have the easiest path to the number 1 seed in the playoff.
Yep.
And if you're LSU and you lose by a couple points, and Clemson's number 1, LSU sitting there at 9-3 at the end of the year, 10-2. To me, that doesn't. I wouldn't be knocking LSU too much in the standing. So there's a lot to gain here for LSU because of the track record and what Brian Kelly's had, the losses that they had. But also, it may not hurt them if it's a close loss.
It's like you could be like, who else went on the road and played a team like this? And you're like, Texas and Notre Dame, and that's it.
Yeah.
In week 1, I mean, like that's it.
Yeah.
Like there's nobody else that's close to what LSU's having to deal with in this situation other than Texas, basically. And even then, Clemson returns all the pieces. Like this would be like Texas going to Ohio State if Will Howard and Emeka Ibuka and Jack Sawyer and, Josh Simmons and everybody else was back. Because that's what this is for Clemson. So anyway, there you go. That's how we're going to Saturday night, you got Cal against Oregon State in an ACC Pac-12 matchup. Only a 1.5-point spread at 9:30. I like that one. And then a game I'm really interested in, Utah, 6-point favorite on the road against UCLA, former Pac-12 matchup, 10 p.m. Central Standard Time. You got, is Nico going to play? Is Nico going to play?
I mean, I was gonna say here, I think you're gonna be in bed by 10 o'clock if this game is Central.
Settle down.
Also, Oregon State, California. That's a Pac-12 after dark. we're getting it back. We're getting the band back together here with some of these old Pac-12 teams meeting up. But to your point, Utah and UCLA, very interesting to me. Not only is it only old Pac-12 teams, but it's the transfer quarterbacks. You mentioned Nico, Devin Dampierre for Utah. See what Utah's revamped offense looks like. See what UCLA's offense looks like. So there's a lot of intrigue for me in that late window, and also
I love
we
those
get to
two games.
watch our breakout star Washington, Damon Williams, at the same time.
We're gonna do picks against the spread, but I really like Washington minus 21.5 at home against Colorado State with Damon Williams making his big kind of I know he's played, but like making his kind of season debut. Yeah, keep an eye on Washington. I don't know how good they're going to be this year, but they're going to ruin some seasons, I feel like.
Yeah, Damon Williams at home. Some of those games that Washington gets at home, I've already circled on the calendars like potential upsets. And if Damon Williams, of course, is one of our breakout candidates, it could be pretty dangerous there.
When I say they're going to ruin some seasons, I mean Oregon's season.
Yeah, that's right. You did pick that, right?
I think they knock Oregon out of the playoff in the season finale. How about that?
I like it. Man,
Yeah,
as if Washington and Oregon fans needed any
I
more,
love it.
kind of ammunition to argue on the internet.
Well, and Dan Lanning's inability to beat Washington would be a big storyline. Big storyline. Even if that's unfair. Virginia Tech at South Carolina, 7.5-point favorite. I mentioned the issue with Woodson there, DUI. South Carolina, we were talking about Arch earlier, and I don't think you have to look any further than Lenora Sellers' first game against Old Dominion last year to understand how bad you can look in your first real game as a starter and how good you could be by the end of the season. Because Sellers looked atrocious. The offense for South Carolina was terrible in that game, and they ended up looking like a playoff team at the end of the year. This is interesting. I don't know what does Vegas know about Virginia Tech? Where's the matchup here? I don't know why this isn't a 10-point spread.
Here's my guess. I think it could be Kyron Drones being healthy, and it could be a combination of using Kyron Drones as a runner and just his return against the South Carolina defense that's lost a lot at the line of scrimmage. So Vegas probably isn't buying South Carolina's defensive line and linebackers against a quarterback that is capable of creating some problems for them. I think there's also just a ton of unknowns too. Like we just talked about the defense. Like, what about their offensive line? Like, they got 3 new starters. I think I like their receivers to maybe break out, but there is still some doubt for South Carolina. So I think if you look at Virginia Tech through what's happened the last 2 seasons, they kind of ended 2023 in a high note, thought they were going to break out in 2024 and didn't.
Vanderbilt punked them in week 1, and that was the end of it.
Yeah, like they've only got like 2 or 3 returning starters, depending on where you look. So it's a whole lot of new there, new coordinators. Maybe they catch South Carolina off guard, but I could see this just being like Drones is good. South Carolina just has some questions, and that's why Vegas is kind of not going all in on South Carolina.
What I don't disagree with your questions about South Carolina, but every question that they have at South Carolina, it's a bigger one at Virginia Tech.
It is.
Yeah. You have maybe the best defensive end in the entire country. You have maybe the best quarterback in the entire country. You've got NFL talent at wide receiver. They lost a lot into the NFL on their defense, right? With Emanwari and with Kennard and with a lot of those guys. They have recruited really well. It's one of those teams where you go, oh, they lost a lot to the NFL, and they might actually be able to replace a lot of it this year on defense with equal level athleticism. I think it's going to take some time to get to the point. But like again, this was like an average bowl football team last year in Virginia Tech, and a South Carolina team that almost made the playoff and had legitimate case for it. And I think you could argue South Carolina slightly better. And we don't really know what Virginia Tech is, so I'm just shocked that it's down to 7.5 now. So I don't know what this one scares me here. I might look at Virginia Tech because they clearly know something in Vegas right now.
I mean, Virginia Tech needed a late victory over Virginia to just get to a bowl game last year, as kind of you were getting at there. Yeah. So, I mean, the only thing I could think of is just like injury bounce back, but also like, how much does continuity matter when you've only got a couple returning starters? And for South Carolina, you have way more experience in Sellers in the lineup. So
I don't get puzzling.
It. Yeah,
I don't get it. I want to lay the points like with thousands of dollars
right?
Because I don't understand it. This is such a good football game from a coaching standpoint, not because it's going to be high level from one side. I got to ask you, Notre Dame 2.5-point favorite at Miami. Catholics and convicts. Notre Dame replacing a lot. Miami replacing a lot, but with bigger sort of names. Ruben Bain back healthy against one of the best offensive lines. Like great individual matchups here. If the two coaches switch sides, would Miami be like a 7 or 8-point favorite?
I don't know if it's 7 or 8. I would probably say Miami's probably favored, wouldn't you?
I think this is the Marcus Freeman Mario Cristobal point spread gap here. I think that's what this is. I think Marcus Freeman has earned like 3 to 4 to 5 points when you go up against the coach that everyone thinks is not going to be able to make the right decision in the right moment. And so I think Miami's the better team on paper right now. They're more sort of equipped to get started right out of the box. There's no chance I'm picking Miami in this game. Notre Dame's going to line up and do what they did to Texas A&M last year, which is sort of like beat you up in the first half and then beat you down in the second half. I don't know why that wouldn't happen in this game.
Honestly, I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. I mean, this is one of the harder games to figure out. The point spread is close. Carson Beck coming back from the elbow injury supposedly is 100%, but not only that. I mean, the receivers.
There are reports that the quarterback has 2 arms. We're unsure.
Yes, and functioning. Yes, there's just a ton of unknowns here, and also like CJ Carr for Notre Dame, I think is going to be good over the course of the season. It's also a road start. Yep. Notre Dame's offensive line, rushing attack, probably going to carry the day here. There's Miami's defense and how far it has progressed is also a question. Like if they're probably stronger up front than on the back end in the secondary, which could work out well for this game. So, man, this is like it's 2.5, 3 toss up somewhere. That's kind of where I see it. So, I mean, I'm just excited to see. Like I want to see what Notre Dame looks like with CJ Carr and see what Miami looks like with Carson Beck.
Like in my preseason analysis, I just have Notre Dame a cut above Miami. Like this is not.
I do too.
Like LSU and Clemson, same tier. Ohio State, Texas, same tier. I don't have Miami and Notre Dame on the same tier. So this is a, and you're right. A lot of this hinges on CJ Carr. Does he handle them? How does he handle the moment? How much pressure do they get on him, et cetera, et cetera. So it'll be interesting to watch. Helmet game, uniform, Sunday night, 6:30. Like, let's go. What a great appetizer too with Virginia Tech and South Carolina on a Sunday. I don't think they did that last year, did they? With a 2:00 game on a Sunday?
It's been a while since we've had 2 games on Sunday. Most of the time it's just the one. Yeah. But let's get even better. Let's do a triple header.
No, stop it. I love the 2. I love like I can get the lawn mowed. I can take care of kids' youth sports. Okay. I can go to their soccer games, and then I can come back and settle into take a shower, settle in on the couch with a cold beer at about 2:00 on a Sunday. Sounds good.
Okay, I see where you're going with this one, but I'm always like biased to more college football. You know, okay,
it's about me, Steven.
Well, you see, you did say at the start of the show that they did a good job of balancing out the schedule because you said that because otherwise, I would have complained about having all the good games in one window this year.
There's not one other than the Friday night where the 2 games that I like are at the same time. Like Baylor and Auburn are at 7:00, Georgia Tech, Colorado 7:00. But otherwise, even Thursday night, 2 different windows for the 2 big games on Thursday. Your 3 or 4 big games on Saturday are all 4 different windows. Then you have 2 windows on Sunday and then a window on Monday. It's really, really good. Like they've spread it out. They have challenged marriages all across this fruited plain is what they've done.
The college football gods have smiled on us this week.
I'm putting in my 2 weeks notice. I will no longer be allowed to be a husband or a father for the next 6 months.
You've entered the transfer portal?
I've entered the portal. Monday night, of course, we end with Bill Belichick making his college football debut. Is it weird to find TCU to be more interesting? They're a 3-point favorite. They're on the road. You got a quarterback who we know way too much about in Josh Hoover. I'm more interested in TCU than I am with North Carolina. Is that weird?
I don't think it's weird. I mean, TCU, we talked about them. I mean, kind of like one of 9 or 10 teams in the Big 12 that has a chance to get to the Big 12 championship. They've got a star quarterback in Josh Hoover. I think their defense will be better. I think, we've had a chance to see Kansas State and Iowa State and Kansas all in kind of their own windows. So it's a good chance to kind of evaluate where TCU is, I think. Also, There was a good story on The Athletic talking about how TCU, when they played Colorado, and all of the new that was involved with Dion coming in, didn't know, and here they are again in the same spot talking about how they're going to play Bill Belichick. So, congrats, they get the first kind of shot at Belichick's defense here.
Unlucky, unlucky. So what's the actual matchup? Like North Carolina is such an unknown. Like it's hard to know what you just want to see Josh Hoover sling it all around, I guess.
Yeah, I think it would not stun me if I guess there could be two things that go on early. It wouldn't stun me if like TCU just Hoover and these receivers jumped on North Carolina and they kind of had a good beat on what they're going to do, or they could take a half to kind of settle in and figure out. I think as much as I have concerns about where North Carolina's overall talent this year on this team falls in the ACC, I think at home think their defense could be a problem early. I also like Gio Lopez. I mean, that was a good get for North Carolina late in the spring portal window. All that being said, I think if you I like TCU's offense eventually to get on track here. I also think that their defense against the North Carolina team that's got a banged up offensive line, a lot of questions at running back, receiver, you got a new quarterback. I think both sides of the ball eventually settle in for TCU. So I like TCU to go on the road and get the win here.
Yeah, I do too. I do as well. All right, that does it for an entire weekend of massive amounts of college football. Picks against the spread, though, to end here. Make sure you got thumbs up on the YouTube page, notifications turned on, etc. I'll give you mine quickly here because here's what I'm going to do. I'm just like I always do. These are actual games that I have a few bucks on. I don't wager a lot of money for those that are new to the show, but these are my picks against the spread. So let's ride. Nebraska -7 at Cincinnati. Year number 2 under Dylan Raiola at quarterback. I think Cincinnati is a questionable football team. I think Nebraska's on a mission this year. I think they got to go on the road and they got to go to win on prime time on a Thursday night. Give me the Huskers to score a lot of points in that matchup. I got to take Georgia Tech -4.5. I know this is putting the hand on the burner here with Vegas telling us, hey, watch out here. Be careful. Upset alert. I just think Georgia Tech is a far better football team. They're going to run the football and be physical. And that is a terrible matchup traditionally for this Colorado team under Deion Sanders. So I know the atmosphere is going to be crazy. Give me Georgia Tech -4.5. Give me Alabama -13.5 against Florida State. I just don't see it. I don't understand what Florida State's doing. They were 0-10 in the or 0-8, excuse me, in the conference. 0-10 would be hard. 0-8 in the conference. Alabama has just so much talent everywhere. The Ty Simpson era underway. Ryan Williams goes off big on offense. So give me Alabama -13.5. And last but not least, give me the Rockets of Toledo +9.5 on the road. If that gets to 10, jump on it. Rockets at Kentucky. I wouldn't be surprised if they win the game outright. This Kentucky team does not bring a lot to the table in any way, shape, or form. They don't have the identity along the line of scrimmage. Toledo is a program that is used to winning football games. Destroyed Mississippi State on the road last year and could be a championship caliber team in the MAC. Give me Toledo on the road +9.5 or 10 wherever you can get it.
Also, so that Toledo line has bounced around. I think it was 12 opening for Kentucky, and then it went down. I think Toledo was only like a 6, or maybe it was like 8 at some point. Now it's gone back up. So it's kind of bounced around. But I like those calls because I am going to follow you on Nebraska and Georgia Tech. Here's the thing. If you do
Uh-oh.
some shopping, you can get Nebraska 6.5. So
Well, I don't. I only have the one app.
so I'm just
No free shouts.
just do a little window shopping at the
I'm not
sports.
downloading 8 apps and giving my bank account to 8 different apps. I'm not doing it.
It's a tip if you want to. You don't have to. So just say it.
You can if you want to take it at 6.5, I'll take it at 7 and fine. You can do that to me if you want to.
No, I will take Nebraska at 7 so we can be consistent.
There we go.
And I'm taking Georgia Tech as well. So those two we agree on. I am going to also I'm picking Texas outright. So let's just take them. 2.5. They're a 2.5 point underdog
Texas
against.
+2.5. All right.
So I'll give me the Longhorns. Give me Temple 2.5 favorite over UMass. I will take the Fighting Casey Keelers to beat the UMass Minutemen. And we saw these teams play in week 0. I'm not sure if either team has a whole lot of defense right now. So we're going to take the over 61.5 on UNLV and Sam Houston.
It's a sneaky play though to play with two teams that you've seen in week 1. You have more data on those two, and UNLV did not stop anybody last week. Most notably Idaho State. They did not.
Idaho State might have won that game had they not turned the ball over.
Oh my God, that's bad. Dan Mullen, not known for his defense.
Offense looked pretty good though.
Offense is good. All right, you got to keep track of this stuff because I'm not keeping track of over-unders. So
I've got
61.5.
We've got
All
them.
right.
We've got them
All right.
in the book right here. I'll be keeping every.
You got me down there? You got me written down?
I can. I will write them all
Get
down.
me in there, dude. I want to be in the book.
Okay.
All right, we both got Nebraska. We both have Georgia Tech. I have Alabama and Toledo. He has Temple and the over in UNLV and Sam Houston. Anything else you want to add?
Man, just excited for some football.
Let's
mean,
go.
we had, like I said, the appetizer last weekend, full buffet of games Thursday all the way through Monday. Can't wait to see whether our preseason priors are right, wrong. What do we not know after week 1? We won't know about some of these teams because some of the matchups are so one-sided, but just glad to have a full slate of college football back.
You can only watch one new quarterback debut that was not in one of the big games we talked about. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like mine, for example, I'm probably watching Michigan against New Mexico to watch Bryce Underwood. What is the quarterback debut you want to watch in one of these games that no one's going to watch because it's a 48-point spread?
My pick would be Bryce Underwood, but let's be a little different. John Mateer of Oklahoma, because they're playing Illinois State. Favorable matchup. They also get Michigan next week. So how much do you show knowing who you got next week? Now you have to knock off the rust and get acclimated to all your new pieces and system. So I will be very interested to see what kind of a show Oklahoma's offense puts on. Excited to see what Mateer and this Oklahoma offense looks like with Ben Arbuckle and all them.
Like if you just scroll through the games, you could go real like Gronowski at Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
I think is going to be a really good one to watch. I can't wait. John Mateer is absolutely on that list. I want to see that. You got Darian Mensah for Duke in an easy game that they're going to play on, I think, Thursday night. Keep an eye on that one. Let's see here. Who else you got?
Dante Moore at Oregon.
Moore at Oregon's a big one. Yeah. I mean, there's just there's so many new players at new places at that position that it's super fun. Gunnar Stockton is going to be interesting to keep an eye on. At Georgia, they play Marshall as a 40-point favorite. I'm trying to roll through here pretty fast.
Austin Simmons at Ole Miss.
That's a great one. Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. Nobody at A&M.
I think Marcel Reed, though. I know he's not a new starter, but a lot of intrigue for me to see what he looks like in his second season.
USC, 35-point favorite over Missouri State. You got the whole new offense there. Not a new player, but you know what I mean. Let's see here. Yeah, it's going to be. We didn't mention SMU. They're going to open against East Texas A&M. I didn't know that was a school.
I think they are the artist formerly known as was it Texas A&M Commerce?
Oh, okay. I think. Not to be confused with Prairie View A&M.
Right.
Totally different.
Yes,
totally different.
East Texas A&M was formerly known as Texas A&M University Commerce.
I'm more of a West Texas A&M guy. So. All right. That's it for us. We're done. Mercifully, huge weekend of action. We'll be back next week, of course. For Stephen Lassen, I'm Braden Gall. Thank you for listening to All Things College Football. Week 1, it's here. Welcome back, old friend. Enjoy your Labor Day holiday. We'll talk to you next week.